Welcome to the 112th edition of Make Pro Wrestling Majestic Again. I am Tiger Height.
And I am Peanut Gallery.
And you are the new Majestic Champion.
I am. I was aware of that, but I just didn't care to know about it.
Yes, so we're going to be doing this somewhat differently. Peanut Gallery, let's kick off with heckling. What are we talking about?
Well, I think it's something that a lot of people have brought up since the debut of Collision especially, is that how much wrestling can you handle in a week? Like, seriously. It was brought up a little bit on F4W about how much time wrestling takes up. Like just the amount of wrestling that's on television. Mm-hmm. It is way more than what we have seen in a long... we haven't seen this ever, obviously, with the rise of the internet. Mm-hmm. But how much can a fan of pro wrestling handle in a week? Mm-hmm. It's like, are we reaching our limits as to how much we can handle? Wrestling is on nearly every night of the week.
I've been seeing that online too, that people are just like getting so burnt out by everything.
Yes. Yeah, there's just so much going on that it's...
I mean, just with WWE, as an example, there is 3 hours for Raw, 1 hour for NXT? No, there were 2 hours. 2 hours for NXT, 2 hours for SmackDown.
1 hour for
Level Up. 1 hour for Main Event. That's 7 hours just by one company alone. And we're not thinking about the specials or anything else.
Any of the pay-per-views, right. And with AEW, of course, now you have 3 shows that are on television.
2 hours each, so that's
another
6
hours.
The G1 Climax is happening right now, which is, I think, like at least 3 hours each show, but it doesn't really get important until the final. So,
but people still go and watch it. Impact has 2 hours.
Yep, Impact has 2 hours.
There's a lot of other...
MLW has syndicated television. Yep. And, these are just the ones that we're thinking of off the top of our head. What about Triple Odds, CMLL, and the New Japan General shows? Because remember, they have their highlight show on Saturdays. Right. I can't remember the channel, but they have that.
NJPW has their stuff on Access TV as well.
There's Ring of Honor.
Yep, there's Ring of Honor too. We haven't even considered that, which is another. I think it's a 2-hour show. I could be mistaken.
It's a streaming service.
But anyways, the point that I'm trying to make is that how much is too much? And where do you draw the line with how much wrestling you can watch? And I think the internet has made it a lot more accessible, but it's also made it a lot worse with just the burn. I think people are being burnt out by the amount of wrestling that's on television.
I agree with you on that circumstance, but I'm going to play devil's advocate that it's sometimes the responsibility of that individual who's watching it to sort of give themselves an opportunity to relax.
Right.
And, it's not just people watching it, it's even content creators within this platform that are feeling this effect because there is a lot of wrestling and people want you to talk about everything.
Right. And you just simply cannot because it is impossible to try and keep track of everything that's happening.
Yeah, this last week, I adjusted my own schedule for the reviews to where I do an individual long video instead of cutting them up in 10. The response has been good. Like, nobody's been actually complaining about it, but I did that because I was almost being burnt out, like, personally, because when I upload it to YouTube, I have to do the copy of every single individual video that's posted on there for 2 channels.
Right.
That is 20 videos for Raw alone.
Right.
Instead of now, I do 2, which saves me so much time.
Right.
Like, I don't think you realize how much work it is to do that. And then setting this up as well for our program. We can't do a live show every single night. We're never going to do that. Right. I have a lot more respect for myself.
Yeah, and remember you used to do that where you did live show every single night.
Mm-hmm. I used to do that when I was in college, and even then I was like starting to peter out a little bit. I think I took a 6 or 8 month sabbatical after that just because I was so toasted out by the time I graduated.
Yeah. And I think that it's becoming a lot more prevalent now just because of the amounts of, just the major major companies putting their stuff on television. It's like, how you don't want to miss anything important, but it's like, where does your fear of FOMO kind of get in the way of just you enjoying your life, enjoying your time? Because this stuff also takes place during primetime hours. This is not stuff that takes place in the middle of the day.
I don't watch the shows on the day that they happen just for background's sake. I watch the shows after they've aired.
Right. And you watch them through illegal streams, and you even do it at 2x speed.
Yeah, I do it at 2x speed because I get the same amount of information in half the time. Right. Why? Because I used to do it full speed, and it was killing me. So Peanut Gallery suggested to do 2x speed because he was doing it to review the pay-per-views. Yeah. Because if it's good, you can hear it. Right. You can hear like, okay, I can process this a lot faster than in this context.
Right.
Like, it makes the show so much more tolerable doing it at 2x speed. I don't watch the show live, and I don't think I will ever watch the shows live because that's cutting out commercials.
Yeah, it's cutting out a lot of time that you're just wasting and
just sitting there watching the show.
And I wonder if people just the casual fans starting to realize how much time they put into watching, even as a casual fan, per week if they are watching it live.
Absolutely.
And there might come a point in time to where people are going to say, I'm not going to watch this.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. I don't think that people understand that it does take a lot of energy. It takes up a lot of energy to watch wrestling like that,
right. Yeah,
So,
and comparing it to other sports, too, comparatively, it's a lot less with other sports. Like with football, yes, your Sundays are shot, but that's an expectation.
Yeah.
With wrestling, it's a weekend.
Well,
this constant barrage of this, and there's so much going on.
With football, there is an off season,
right,
to where there is a recharge moment for fans and players. With wrestling, that doesn't exist.
Right.
Now, I'm not sure I don't think at this point it will ever exist. I think wrestling will always continuously happen, but as a person who is essentially responsible for the burnout, what would you recommend a fan who might be going through the same issues that we just brought up about burnout?
Well, the first thing is to just figure out what's more important. Figure out where your priorities lie. I think that there's a lot to be said about just stopping the buck where it is. You can always look up the results online. There are so many news sites covering
also,
it.
you can find highlights of the show where they give you the biggest parts of every segment backstage in front.
They do it on Facebook. If I'm scrolling on Facebook at the time, it's like, oh, this thing just happened. That's cool.
Yeah. And if you want to inquire further, then you can find the match. But I think if you are feeling the burnout, you're not contractually obligated to watch the shows in its entirety. Watch highlights.
Yeah.
I did that before I started doing these reviews. That's what I did for a while, because I started up this YouTube channel like when I was in college. I think like junior or senior year. So, and then uploading regularly. I've had a YouTube channel forever, but I used to just watch the highlights. You can go to WWE as a perfect example, their YouTube channel, where they give you the highlights of what is important.
Right.
And
the other thing is, don't worry about FOMO. Don't worry about missing out on anything. It's not really that important.
FOMO essentially is an illusion.
Right.
That does not exist. You are not missing out on anything that you want in your life.
Right.
Seriously, it's like, oh, I'm missing out on the new iPhone. The new iPhone is going to be around for a while. Yeah. And also, the adjustments are so minuscule.
Right. But people always want to be there for the latest and greatest.
Yeah,
and
because FOMO.
Right. And again, I think that's what's contributing to a lot of people who are casual fans being burnt out. It's like, I don't want to watch this live. I think the Saturday show just kind of hit the nail on the head, because it's like, now it's something that I have to watch, and now I'm watching wrestling nearly every night of the week. If you're a devoted fan of pro wrestling, at least in the United States,
or do what I do, try to find it online for free.
Yeah.
And do it at 2x speed. I guarantee you're not going to miss anything.
Right.
I have missed nothing of any of the shows that I watch, and Raw takes me an hour and 15 minutes tops for every segment. Like, it's so easy now.
Yeah.
NXT takes me 40 minutes.
Right. But you know, again, it's just one of those things I wanted to highlight because it is something that's becoming a lot more prevalent within the wrestling scene.
And the thing is, burnout is, I mean, I've been burnt out on my other job, and it hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, it kills your motivation to do anything.
Right.
So try to avoid it by doing those tips, and you'll be fine.
Right. And just, you know what your limits are, and don't be afraid of missing something.
Yeah, and don't try to pursue the companies to change their thing. Their entire business model is based on producing content. That's what it is.
Right.
So if you believe, because at some point in time, you have to be responsible for you.
Right.
And yelling at the company for saying, oh, there's too much is not the way to go. You have to take some personal responsibility and say, well, I have to give myself these breaks. Or, hey, that 2x speed may not be a bad idea.
Right.
Or maybe I'll skip this week and sort of get caught up on other things.
Right.
You know?
But that's all I want to talk about. It's again, something that I've noticed.
I've noticed a lot of that too. I'm so happy that you brought it up because I see people just saying the same thing online, everywhere, basically.
And so so did I. So it's like, okay, we got to bring this up because this is very important.
I didn't even know that he was going to bring up until he sent me the pictures. So there you go.
All right. So anyways, you're gonna get your soapbox when we get back, right?
Yep, it's gonna be an interesting one.